thanks for coming to the IAIN Baxter and exhibition. I'm an artist that's been around for a long time. I came to Canada when I was 1, to Calgary, Alberta from England. And I grew up in the West in Alberta, and in the earlier years did lots of sports and things like that. And then I went to the States to university and came back and started my teaching at UBC. A really great part of my earlier career was, as a youngster in Calgary, was skiing and sports. I was a big athlete. I was on the Alberta junior ski team, and I actually had originally a scholarship to go to University of Idaho on a skiing scholarship. But along the way, you know, as happens with all of us, major epiphanies can happen, and one of them happened for me in Saskatchewan when I was 18. I was in a car accident and my neck was broken. So I was a very lucky guy because it allowed me a chance to realize that life is very tenuous. It can be gone at any moment. So I think it gave me a way to look at things in a more playful and a more relaxed way in life, and to enjoy it and to have fun. And so as I look back over my life, that was a really important point as to how I look at life and art that I make now. When I went to the University of Idaho, I started in forestry, and then I decided that zoology was my passion. I actually did a degree in zoology because I'd spent so many years in the outdoors when I lived in Calgary in the mountains, that the whole idea of animals and the ecology and the fact that we are a part of the Gaia, the whole experience of the world, as a living organism, that it really interested me that how we fit in with all the animals and the other plants and species as a living bio-entity. So that's how I got really interested in ecology. And then as I became an artist, it became a part of the way that I think about my art. Along the way, nature has been a really important part of my career, and the whole idea of art came to me through my background in zoology. And as a result of that, a professor asked me to illustrate a book called The Wildlife of the Northern Rocky Mountains. And through all those illustrations of animals and plants, and you'll see a few of those in the beginning of this exhibition, you'll see some of these works, I ended up being very excited about art itself, and I went to the art department and started taking some classes. And along the way, I became very interested in an artist from Seattle named Morris Graves, who was somebody that was interested in Zen Buddhism in the Orient, and that stimulated me to want to go to Japan. So when I was a young fellow, I went to Japan in '61 on a Japanese government scholarship, and had my first one-man show actually in Kyoto, Japan. And so Buddhism and ecology and environmental issues have been a long part of my career. And so it's been an issue that goes on through all my life. When I graduated with my Master in Fine Arts from Washington State University, my first job was in Vancouver. And so dropping into the Vancouver scene, I dropped in like an artist coming in a parachute into this other scene, because I brought in a whole lot of different ideas about how you look at art. Because I'd done a lot of studying on my own, and because of this zoology background and going to Japan, I came, I feel, with a different way of looking at the urban environment. And then having photography as a major ingredient in my life, I took pictures throughout the city all the time. And a number of students there, Ian Wallace, Roy Arden worked in my restaurant. I had a restaurant in Vancouver. And Stan Douglas was in my class. So I'm a guy that really likes teaching, and I really have enjoyed teaching over the years. And it's an important part of imparting my knowledge and encouraging other people to become involved in art. Because I always feel that as a person coming from my background, I'm interested in getting other people to maybe make art a shared part of their life, or become artists if they can. Well, the really exciting thing as a young artist coming for my first teaching job at UBC in 1964, Marshall McLuhan was really hitting his stride in our country, and he is one of our great philosophers and somebody that I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. you've heard of the global village phrase and the medium is the message. Well, Marshall McLuhan coined all those phrases. And I became very excited about him, and I was asked to actually do the visual section of a big happening that was a tribute to Marshall McLuhan in Vancouver in I think it was 65. And so he was like one of the other major cornerstones in my life about thinking about art as information, because he made us realize that the medium is what really changes us and how we relate to everything with television and print, and how we're so influenced by these strong things in our life. I put a telex in my house, and I would send messages to various people and companies and things. And it's just been an ongoing way that I think, just like today with cell phones and everything, and the fact that the world itself now is a global village in a sense, and we're connected wirelessly as well as electronically. As you can tell, my background in ecology gives you a sense that I'm interested in everything and anything. And so I wanted to find a structure that would allow me a kind of more global way to look at art. So I founded the Anything Company. And you know, my name, Ian, if you switch it, as I said, I like to play with language, it's N-E. And thing became, you know, if you say that, it's just anything. And I like the idea of that gets you to think about art in broader context, maybe more in an ecological context about looking at life. And so that became a way for, you know, for a few years to do that. And then the ecology aspect and the McLuhan aspect of information has always been a driving force in my way of looking at art. Photography has been one of the major parts of my whole life. Every day I'm involved with photography. It's something that's really important to me, because it's a way that you gain as an artist, a way that you look and see the world. And the other really interesting thing as I look back over my career is that I've been really excited about working with language, not as a writer, but as something to play with. I should tell you 4 words that are really important to me, and they are love and play and wonder and. As I've gone through life, and as I mentioned, I like language a lot, and symbols and so on. The actual symbol for the and, which is an ampersand, really excited me, because I think life is just about ands. Like, I mean, and you're here today, and I'm talking to you now. So it's a word that we use all the time. So I thought I would include it in my name, so I went to the government in Ontario and changed my name to Ian Baxter And it's also a phenomenon that, for me, brings about the idea that and is really important, and it ties our language together. It's kind of the DNA of language, because if you don't have ands, all the phrases don't hold together. So I see it as very much like a gene. It's like a genetic component of the language itself. Because if you think about it, DNA is actually A and D. They're both combined. So I'm working on some new artworks that involve and DNA. And you're probably wondering, as you go through this show, how I function as an artist. Well, actually, my studio is in my head. My studio is, I like to think of it as all the rooms in the brain, functions I have. That's the kind of studio, because I'm about ideas. And when an idea ferments and it feels right, I then make the work. And that happens because I scan information all the time, all the areas of knowledge, and I try to see if there's patterns that come together. And so I live in a kind of creative compost. And it's the way that I think and function, and I enjoy it, because I never know when I go back in there what I'm going to find, and then I bring all this new data with me and this new ideas. So it's actually, I'm about sifting through information and looking for the patterns that can say something about our world, and especially today about our environmental issues. And being a zoologist, it's one of my in the forefront of my thinking. I think you have to realize, in this exhibition you will see that I work in a number of different directions, and I've been sometimes calling myself a maximalist, not a minimalist, because I think life is actually a maximum experience. It's not about minimalism. And so I'm hoping I can encourage you to look at your life in this more cultural global way, because culture is so important in our lives to give us a balance and a kind of a platform to feel real in what we're about. And as soon as our cities actually do that, they will become, the new art form of the future. I look forward to you coming to the show, because we will have a major interactive area, or you could say it's an interplay area, but this area will allow you to become involved, as all of you are. I know a lot of you are involved now with computers and social media and Twitter and Facebook and QR codes and all these things. And so we're hoping that you will come and join in and ask us questions and answer things and become involved yourself in the seriousness of play in our lives.